Hi, my favorite memory of Baptist Bible Seminary, which was in Johnson City, is in my second year when I was walking down the sidewalk and I saw this good-looking girl walking by. I turned to my roommate and said, I'm going to marry her. It took me a week to find her. And once I found her, I started dating her, and at the end of the year, I proposed to her, and much to my surprise, she said yes. Baptist Bible Seminary prepared me for my life's work by allowing me to get 2 majors. Because I was in the 5-year Bachelor of Theology program, they allowed me to say that I had 2 majors, one in theology and one in history. And by letting me rewrite the courses so that they became history-oriented for Temple University, I was able to get into Temple University without taking the graduate record exams. I went there for 1 year and 1 quarter and graduated with my Master of Arts in American History, which allowed me to become a high school teacher, in which I taught for 34 years.
My first CSU memory was coming here to play basketball. But little did I know, especially through Coach Huckabee, is that he cares very much about thinking biblically. So I went from this guy who was a jock who began to think very hard about how to improve as a basketball player and to use my mind in such a way that made me an effective player for the defenders. That slowly over time carried over into the academic world. I was able to take those things, take what I had learned, take the critical thinking that I had continued to develop and impact all that I do, especially with my nonprofit, and learning to think biblically about why and how we do orphan care and why and how we care for children who are vulnerable and in foster care situations.
A really great memory I had was spending hours up in the prayer room. I don't know if it's still there or not, but it was up on the top floor of Jackson Hall, and I spent countless hours up in that room praying. And it really formed a desire to be a prayer warrior all my life. BBC laid a foundation of biblical truth for me that has been invaluable to me all of my life. It also gave me a rich desire for God's Word, to glean from it daily, to read it daily. I have gained a real passion for the lost from my years spent as a student here and on staff, and also BBC formed my theology for me, or actually helped me understand what my theology was going to be, and that has played a really important role for me, especially when I went to a secular university. If I did not have a solid biblical understanding of God's Word, I think I could have been easily swayed in a lot of different directions. So BBC formed a wonderful biblical foundation for me, and I loved my years that I had here.
I think about 2 words: opportunity and preparation. I wasn't sure exactly what God's plan for me was. I knew that I wanted to go into some kind of ministry, and what BBC did for me was prepared me for any kind of ministry that I could have gone into and could have done. From starting out as a Christian school teacher to then becoming a pastor and now being a chaplain in the United States Army, I was prepared for all of those different kinds of ministries by the Bible training that I received and the preparation for life that I received while I was there at BBC. The second thing was opportunity, because it wasn't just classroom preparation that I received, but it was opportunity to be involved in ministry while I was there as a student, working in a church, traveling in the summers, doing basketball camps, getting to teach and preach for the first time. All of those different opportunities added up to me being prepared to go out and start ministering. And God showed me that there were things that I could do that I didn't know I could do because I was pushed into them by those ministry opportunities that came while I was a student there.
I studied health and physical education, and now I do a youth ministry, and so it's not directly correlated, but the amount of teaching that I do and the ability to command the presence of kids, to be able to speak clearly, give instructions clearly, to be able to teach God's words clearly has proved invaluable to me. And that kind of leads into the other thing is how much I know of God's word. When I stepped out of CSU and into the real world, as they would say, the amount of people that didn't have a knowledge of God's word, especially the kids that I work with, their lack of knowledge of God's truth was staggering. So the ability to teach and to be able to teach God's word, which I have a deep knowledge of, proved invaluable for what I do now.
Working as a biblical counselor now I see that I could not counsel in any other way but to use God's word. Just dealing with such heavy real life situations, I need to be able to use God's word and to know how to share that with other people. So I love that CSU has that great biblical focus in those classes. And I think sometimes when I was here as a student, I may have taken them a bit for granted when I was here. But now looking back on that and seeing just how valuable it was to be able to share that and to know God's truth, because dealing and counseling with women who are struggling with addiction, they have been so deceived by Satan's lies and by the culture and by media in the world. And so it's so important to be able to differentiate between those lies and God's truth.
Throughout my years, I realized that one of the greatest things that I was learning in school not only was the knowledge and the books and all those kind of things, was how to be disciplined, how to make good decisions, how to prioritize my time, and how to use those kind of things. And I think that that's probably the greatest thing that I see outside of the knowledge that's had an impact in my life, is the people that have poured into me and taught me how to be disciplined and how that carries over in your real life.
After going through the undergraduate program and the graduate program, the accessibility and the relationships that were built with professors that I still maintain to this day. So even recently, just in counseling with some things that have come up, I've been able to shoot them a quick email and they've been able to give me some really, really good advice and feedback. So I really appreciate the continual relationship there and just how accessible they are to be able to get that insight.
The one thing I would like to say is I would like to thank Clark Summit University for allowing me to meet my beautiful wife.